Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome and thank you for taking the time to join us today. I hope you are doing well and staying safe. So, this time around, we will be covering the latest highlights on the recent Australian immigration budget 2020 to 2021. Find out what are the trends and direction, as well as the expected changes for the business and investment migration. So, now I'm just going to introduce our keynote presenter for today. Desmond Ang, our very own founder and MD for Global Migration Solutions. Recently, he has been awarded the Top 50 Global Migration Agency CEO and has 16 years experience in the migration agency. Desmond had a very strong background in financial and was a certified chartered accountant with PwC before his migration career. So now you can see this is the award from U Global, as well as his registered migration license. Yes. Before we start, just a quick reminder, there will be a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, and we will try our best to cover if the time permits. And otherwise, if it doesn't, please do provide your contact details and our team will be in touch with you after the webinar. Also, just a reminder to book your free consultation, please key in 15 minutes in the chat box and we will secure your 15-minute slot with Desmond. So without further ado, Desmond, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Hazel. Hi, good morning, everyone. I wish you well. First of all, I wish everybody stays safe. And given the current pandemic situation, I guess it has becoming part of our life. But the party has still, to be safe. All right, now Global Migration. This is a company that started in 2004 when I came back from Australia. And since day one, we focus on clients' experience with us, and we are committed to deliver the results to every single client that we have taken on board. So we have always been focusing on Australia and New Zealand as our priority. And over the years, we have also extended our services to cover Portugal, United States, and Malaysia programs. A little bit of our records and milestones. Clients have seen us as a premium migration advisory firm over the years. We have maintained a very high successful records. Today, we have helped more than 12,000 families successfully. And we have our office in Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Australia, and Hong Kong to support our clients. Now, today, we will be looking at the latest migration budget, which was just recently announced by the Australian federal government. It is also, we are also going to be talking about the expected changes on the requirements. I guess this is going to be very, this is always the concern for those who has not submitted the application yet. We will also be looking at whether Australia will still remains as the world #1 migration destination, given the changes coming up. And let's look at that later. It would be very interesting to find out. Importantly, I would also like to walk every one of you, for those especially who has not submitted the visa, let's look at how do you plan the right timing, when should you initiate the application. All right, now, first of all, what is the overall migration trend in October 2020 budget? This is very interesting to find out because every year when the budgets came out, that determined what is the direction of the immigration and whether or not your application or your pathway is going to be prioritized and whether or not your pathway is going to expect some changes. Now, I think it is important to look at last year. Last year, the focus was in the regional visa. So the government was encouraging people to stay in the regional area. But this direction seems to be fading now. I would say the priority now is in relation to the occupation that helps with the COVID breakdown or making it with the economy recovery for Australia, which is to bring in the high value investment and business owner over to Australia. So that is the direction. So this direction was being published under the direction number 87, order of consideration. And this order of consideration gives priority to the various visa. And they are the COVID prioritized visa as number one, and followed by the 188 visa programs. So these 188 visa programs refers to business and investment migration. Yeah. And then the critical sector for skilled visa, such as if you are a doctor, you are nurses, so your application will be considered. Then only followed by the regional area, yeah, and last other programs such as the skilled independent visa, skilled nominated visa. So if you are planning for the general skill migration visa programs, you might be disappointed to see that it is at the last priority among all. But don't worry about that, because in my opinion, I think this is going to be uh, during these interim periods, and let's hope that in a year or two we see improvement and higher priority is given to this group of category. Now, the good news is the migration planning level for this year maintained at 160,000, which is the same as last year, all right? And let's look into more detail on what is the allocation of this 160,000. Now, first, the business and investment migration programs, there is an increase and almost doubling up. The government is doubling up the number of planning level. And this year, we are expecting 13,500 of approval will be granted from October to June, till June next year. Yeah, and followed by global talent. So basically, Australia is looking at bringing in more talent to Australia, and the number has gone up significantly from 5,000 to 15,000. So in general, if let's say your children's or any one of you out there has a master degree or PhD, and that would be one of the basic requirements for you to fulfill these visa programs. Also, distinguished talent. Now, this distinguished talents is a new visa programs, and the government mandated at 200 for this fiscal year. Relatively, if you are a talent in your field, and what I want to emphasize over here is it is the individual talents over here. It is not about your company. Yeah, take notes. So, for example, if let's say you are in the medical field and you are an expert, you have awards winning, and you have all the publications, and you are one of the demanded and sought after speaker in your field, and you are able to demonstrate your distinguished talent in your field, then this is what the visa is meant for. Yeah. Also followed by the family stream. There's also an increase in partner visa now from 47,000 to 72,000. When we talk about this partner visa, I'm very keen to give a separate session talking about this, because there is a controversial about these changes that is coming up on this partner visa, and the Australian government is looking at imposing an English test for those who wish to bring the partners over to Australia. Yeah. And last, employer-sponsored and general skill migration is the one that has a reduced quota and the number. So basically, the number is almost cut by half. And if you're looking at this allocation, it is clearly indicated that and is in line with the objective of the immigration, which is to bring in the high net worth individual, also those with a talented skill, yeah, over to Australia. Okay, next, let's look at the summary. So the prioritization is to bring the global talents and the investment visa as what we have just discussed. And in terms of the general skill migration, although the quota has dropped by almost half, but take notes, this quota is running from October to next year June, which is over across the next 9 months. Yeah. And for general skill migration, if you are planning for this pathway, currently the priority is given to those onshore applicants. And so that says, some of you might need to start looking at options of you going to Australia to study, and then being onshore, and then apply for these general skill migration programs. Yeah, for those graduates who is onshore, though the program is competitive, but as compared to offshore applicants, you have an advantage of being in Australia. Now, that gives you an idea on what the government is looking after, in terms of this year, the directions. But importantly, I think let's talk about also the expected changes in July 2021, because the budget is being announced this year that talks about increasing the investment, and also to bring in high net worth individual to curb, to assist with the economy recovery. And the changes is expected to take place in July 2021. I think from the summary and from all the discussion that I have read through, I would like to suggest that these are the three important elements, or the three important aspects. Number one, changing of the investment types. Now, I'll talk about that. What is the changing of investment type shortly? Increasing the investment amount. I'm certain that this investment amount is going to be more in the future. And also talking about suspension of the direct PR pathway. So this has been in the discussion over the years, and it looks like finally this is going to be coming through. Now, I'm going to run through the next few slides with the different pathway, and then talk about what is the changes that we are expecting to happen. Business pathway, first of all, the 188A, one of the most common visa programs that most of you would apply. If you are already a business owner, you can explore this visa pathway, which is the 188A. Yeah, these visa programs require to be a business owner and having a business experience of already 2 years. And you're required to have a share of minimum 30%, whereby your business currently is generating 500,000 of turnover per annum. Yeah, and in terms of the assets, you're required to have, you and your spouse are required to have an assets of a minimum 800,000 and above. Okay, and this visa generally require you to bring over 200 to 500,000 to Australia and use it towards running the business. Okay. Under this under these changes, the government is looking at increasing the investment amount. So this is the upcoming changes that everybody is expecting. All right, now let's look at this 132 visa program, which is the business programs also, and which give you a direct PR pathway. Yeah. Now this, earlier I mentioned, the government is looking at suspending all the direct PR pathway. And if any one of you is exploring this 132A, then you need to pay attention on when you should initiate this application before this visa pathway is being suspended. Okay. Yeah. So in my opinion, I think that the earliest changes of being suspended, I mean, this 132 visa program being suspended, it could be as fast as July 2021. Investment pathway. Now, many of you out there who do not wish to run a business in Australia, certainly the 188B is the visa programs that is that most of you would apply and would explore. Under this 188B, the investment amount is 1.5 million, and at this moment, you can invest directly into the government designated bond. So your 1.5 million to a certain extent is protected, and you get the money back in 4 years' time. And so the government is looking at, from the sources of, the discussion, the investment amount is likely going to be increased from 1.5 million to 2.5 million. And this amount is also likely to be invested into the private managed fund. And the government bond might not be an option after 1st of July. Yeah, take notes. 188C. Now, this 188C, the investment amount is 5 million, and within the 5 millions, you have to allocate your investment through different portions and through different investment products. And the government is looking at increasing the venture capital portion from 500,000 currently to become 1 million. So this is among the portion that has the higher risk. And the government is looking at changing it and increasing it to 1 million. So for those who has already applied for this visa, you will not be affected, and don't worry. Yeah, these changes is applicable to those who has yet applying for this visa. Okay, now what about other changes? So other changes includes the visa application fee is going to be increased by 11.3% on the 1st of July 2021. Now, talking about this 11.3%, being in this industry for 16 years, I've never seen such a big jump. I would say that, on average every year there is an adjustment of around 1% to 2%. And this 11.3% is a big jump to some of the visa class. Yeah. Also for Hong Kong passport holder, if you're holding the Hong Kong passport, good news, you get priority processing as compared to all others. And the following processing time doesn't apply to you. Now, a few days ago, the government had just increased the processing time. If you're looking at this 188A, 188B, 188C visa application, you are expecting to take much longer, for approval. So 188A, it comes to 29 months, which started from beginning 12 months, 20 months, now 29 months. 188C investor programs is taking around 30 months. Sorry, 188B. 188C, surprisingly, is taking up to 27 months. This is extremely long for those who is investing 5 millions, and it takes you such a long periods of times to get your visa approved. That explains, the backlog, and also, how Australia remains very competitive, and there's a lot of applications going in, despite, the government is looking at increasing the investment amount in the past. And the processing time, surprisingly, is taking this long. Yeah. Now, this is the third agenda of today. Will Australia remain as a world #1 migration destination? And I think, in my opinion, when someone chose, a residency, an alternative residency for the family, they certainly take into consideration of a few factors. Yeah. And let's look at what has made Australia become the world #1 destination over the times, especially over the last 4 years. Australia has beat Canada, United States, UK, and all other countries, and become #1 destination for high net worth individual. And I think #1 reasons, world-class education system. The education system in Australia is not just purely academic, but it has trained your kids to become a street smarts. Yeah. And as a resident or a permanent resident, you and your family member has the access to the free education system in Australia. So your kids are enjoying the free education from primary and secondary school. And if they are at the tertiary education, you're paying only 1/3, yeah, as compared to international students. Yeah. Australia has been seen as safe, and a family-friendly country. And it has gained the top 10 livable city, especially for Australia. There are certain states like Victoria, Perth, South Australia. These are the states that has become the world top 10 most livable city. Yeah. And advanced healthcare, as you know, Australia healthcare system, stands up in the world. And as a PR or permanent residence visa holder, you and your family member has the access to the free healthcare in Australia. Also, the affordable housing, as compared to many other developing countries, and some of the countries in these regions, Australia relatively still have an options for housing that is very affordable. Okay, and also the country being a multicultural country, and 7 people that you have seen on the streets, they are migrants themselves. It makes you adaptable quickly when you move over to a new destination. So this is very important, and you feel homed quickly based upon the experience that our clients has gone through. All right, work-life balance, certainly, in Australia, this is very important, and this is what people are looking after, and most of you manage to have a work-life balance being living in Australia. So given these factors, other than these factors, I guess the geographical location, being closest gateway to Asian market is very important, equally important. Also, how the government tackle the pandemic, the experience, and so also the ability of governments tackling the conditions, the current condition is also very important to show that this country is a safe country for you and your family to live in. Now, let's talk about planning the right timing to secure your residency. I am going to share with you for those who is already in the pipeline, for those who has yet started the application, or and finally those who has already secured the application by looking at maintaining certain condition to become a PR. What is your current status, and how should you plan to make sure that your PR conversion is smooth. For those who has yet started this application, first of all, this process takes such a long time. Yeah, when, as I shared with you, the processing times earlier, if you are applying for the visa today, you are getting your application, you are getting the visa or your residency visa at least 2.5 years later on average. Yeah. But importantly, talking about all these changes that is coming up in July 2021, yeah, when should you start applying, or when should you start gathering your documents and starts reviewing your pathway, visa pathway, for you to be able to beat the changes? First of all, in my opinion, I think it has to be latest by January 2021, because it takes you through, you have to submit a various application, which includes expression of interest. You have to also go through the state's nomination. You have to choose the particular states and then get a nomination from the state's government before you can even put in your application. And all this process takes time. Okay, you need to be able to secure an invitation before July, yeah, before the changes. So assuming the changes is in July, and assuming there is no earlier suspension of the programs, yeah, which could potentially take place in the past, the the suspension of this state's nomination might come through before even the end of the fiscal year. Yeah, like this, like last fiscal year, a lot of the states has not stopped providing the nomination even in February or March, yeah, when they hit their quota. So this deadline is to my opinion is the last minute. Yeah, I mean, it is the last chance for you. So if you're applying this, so you're expecting to get your visa sometimes in 2023, 2024. Now, if you're waiting for your visa decision, yeah, do not worry. Your eligibility remains and no changes will impact you. All right. The only thing that you are expected to experience perhaps taking longer for you to get a visa outcome. Okay. If you are already holding the 188A, 188B, and 188C, there is concession. Yeah, there's arrangement in place for you. Yeah, given the current pandemic situation, right? If you're 1A visa holder, your visa of 4 years can be extended for another 4 years with a maximum of 8 years in total for you to fulfill running the business in Australia. Okay. Now, 1AB, this is very, very interesting, and I think that this is very Australian government is such a considerate, and has given these options. If your visa was approved before July 2019, and you have already spent 2 years in Australia, there's a possibility of you withdrawing your 1.5 million investment earlier, before the 4 years is up. And you are entitled to apply for this PR conversion of AAA-B even before 4 years, right? That is subjected to the respective state's treasury corporation, and the state's government is offering you the nomination for PR. So if you have already spent 2 years in Australia, contact our office and we will look into that, and we'll make contact with the respective state's government and treasury corporations to see if they will release your fund earlier and support you for the PR application, right? So this is very important. Now for 188C visa holder, for those who invest 5 million, although you are required to spend 40 days a year in Australia, but let's guess what happening now. During the concessional periods, your time overseas is considered as though you are in Australia. So isn't it nice? So your time overseas is considered as though you are in Australia. So if you are not able to travel over to Australia and fulfill the 40 days a year, and being in Malaysia or being in Hong Kong or anywhere, in the world, and your time overseas is considered as fulfilling the 40 days, a year. So this is my sharing today. And I think that my priority today is to share with you what is the migration budget, the trend. Then I spoke about the changes coming up. Then I talk about, the how do you plan ahead if you have not submitted your application. And for those who is already holding the visa, and what is your current, what is the arrangement that has been in place for you? And for those clients who is already in the pipeline and undergoing the visa processing and waiting for visa decision, you're not being affected with all these changes. All right. And thank you. Hazel, over to you.
Thank you again, Desmond, for that very informative session. So thank you again, everyone. So right now we are going to go through the question and answers. Before that, let's see if you have any questions at all. Please feel free to write it in the chat box. And also, as mentioned, if you need a 15 minutes free consultation with Desmond, just note in 15 minutes in the chat box. So Desmond, today we have quite a number of questions. Just let me go through this.
Mm-hmm.
First thing is, one person is asking, if I'm the owner of the business as a husband, can my wife run the business in Australia?
Okay, sure. Well, I guess this is referring to visa programs 188A, 188A visa programs. Yes, we call this role swap. If the husband is the one that running the business here in Malaysia or anywhere outside Australia, they meet the requirements of the 188, and the husband is the principal applicants for this 188, and the wife could then live in Australia to fulfill the PR condition. So when it comes to the PR conversion, the wife became, the principal applicants. So if the business require the husband to remain in their home country, yes, the husband can do so, and the wife can help to fulfill the PR condition.
All right. Okay. I think this second question could be related also, just to confirm. As
Yes.
188, do I need to wait until the fulfillment of 2 years of the business turnover to be fulfilled, or shall I apply first?
Right. Well, you need to fulfill 2 years of the business turnover before you can apply for the 188. The Australian government is looking at the turnover over the last 4 years, assuming someone who is applying for a visa this year, 2020. So the relevant periods of times would run from 2016, 17, 18, and 19. So over these 4 years periods, you need to demonstrate that at least 2 years, your business turnover has already meet the 500,000 minimum requirement. Yeah. If you do not fulfill these requirements, then you would not be able to submit the application.
Okay, thank you for that. And then, can we do any kind of business over there, or does it have to be the same business I run here?
Right. Well, first of all, it doesn't necessarily need to be the same business that you are running here. It could be, in general, it could be any types of the business, but do take note, certain states might have certain preference. Let's talk about Victoria, for example. If you are running a business in Victoria, you can't do a small property development business. You can't do, spot the scrap metal export. You can't do, freight and delivery services business. So these are not, these are the businesses that is not acceptable by Victoria State government. Whereas if you are talking about moving to anywhere else in Australia, the states are generally quite friendly, and you do have the flexibility of running any types of business you like.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Okay. And one person said, thank you for the presentation. For D188B, is it possible to be legally employed?
Sure, yes. So this visa, whether it is 1A, B, or C, that gives you and your family a full rights to be on employment. Now, a lot some this is very important because I do come across where some of the member of the family wish to be on the employment, yeah, whether it is full time or it is part time. Yes, you do have the rights to do so. That also extended to your child. So before obtaining the 188, your kids, for example, they might be under the student's visa, right? And when you obtain this visa, your children's visa status would change from students become student visa to becomes, a 188 visa holder, which visa holder, which is a full residence. So when the moment when it becomes a 188 visa holder, your child do have the full work rights as compared to the overseas students, yeah, which is very important because the moment whether they are still studying or they finish their study, they are given the priority for them to be on employment, yeah, and your kids would then experience the wouldn't have to go through the challenge of finding a job where they doesn't hold a full works rights, yeah.
All
So
right.
this is also one of the important reasons why the 188, is needed for most of the parents, yeah, which is to help the children's for the full employment rights.
Right. Okay. All right for that. And for 188A, must all visa holder need to stay and fulfill for 888, sorry.
Okay. No, the stay requirement is applicable to only husband or the wife, which is one of them. Yeah. So the bottom line is husband and wife, one of you must be there to fulfill the residency requirements. Uh, some of you might be thinking, what about children's helping to fulfill the requirements? The answer is no. The kids being in Australia, the residency doesn't count as fulfilling that. And we are talking about 1 out of the 2 years residency.
Mm.
Yeah. And that the answer is husband or the wife.
All right.
Yeah, one of you.
Okay. And what is the duration of processing currently for applying for 188B visa?
Currently, few days ago, the processing time has not increased to became 29 months.
Okay. So what would you actually advise them?
Well, if you have a very clear and specific reason and objective of being a resident in Australia or obtaining a residency in Australia, and do not hesitate to do that.
Mm.
Given all these coming changes, and it takes times to even get a residency, and it doesn't happen overnight. And my advice is never hesitate to do so if you have a very clear reasons of doing, of getting the residency. Yeah.
All right. And one person is asking if we apply in Perth, so must we have a business and stay in Perth only?
Yeah. Well, if it is under 18A and you are going through Perth, you're expected to manage your business, to set up your business in Perth and manage your business in Perth and reside in Perth. Whereas your kids, if they are looking at going elsewhere to study, your kids are allowed to do so, uh, because you need to demonstrate your residency in the states that offer you the nomination for the PR conversion purposes. So if you are looking at having a branch elsewhere, you can do so, and you need to spend certain amount of times in different states, you can do so, but your primary residence should be maintained in Perth in this case. Yeah, until you have successfully converted to become a PR, where you have the full rights to live anywhere you like in Australia.
Okay. There's a question. The first entry for 188, will it be pandemic period?
At this moment, if let's say you have gotten the approval, and not fit to travel, and though you are given initial landing periods, and this initial landing date is being superseded with this concession arrangement. So you are allowed to travel to Australia only after it is, the borders is fully opened. Yeah. But
Okay.
having said that, if you are 1A visa holder, you are a PR, or you are already a citizen of Australia, the borders is currently open to this group of, visa holder.
All right.
If you are 1A, you are free, you are allowed to travel to Australia without having to seek a permission. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And regarding 188B, it was mentioned that we can invest in private investments. Can you please elaborate?
Not at this moment. This is the expected changes. So I would expect the government is making the move and shifting the 1.5 million to 2.5 million and follow the same types of some sort of investment like 1AA where they are invested into the emerging market funds, bonds, private bonds, REITs. Yeah.
Okay. And there's a question on TCV is offering negative rate now. Does it mean that we have to pay to TCV instead?
Well, first of all, the rate is determined at times when the visa is ready for decisions. In this case, 188B, it is talking about 29 months to get an approval. So as in how much the rate is would be determined at that point of time because your investment amount of 1.5 million doesn't require at this moment, but it is towards of the the end of the visa decisions. As in negative returns, you would need to refer to a certain specific investment portfolio that is under 18188 B category. Yeah.
All right. And then for investment requirement under the section 188, can I invest in Australian property?
Not directly investing into the Australian property, unless you set up a company, you acquire a land, and then you build houses on top of the land, meaning you become a developer, right? As I mentioned earlier, this business model is not accepted in Victoria, but all other states seems to, welcome you to do so.
All right. Okay, so there is a question from this person who was asking the first entry for 188B during the pandemic. Now he's asking, so is either one fulfill or for all family can convert to 888, right?
Yes,
That's correct. So
correct.
later those that does not revoke the existing rights, I guess. I'm not too sure. Do
Okay.
you
Right, Taser. Yeah, I guess what this person is asking is when the 1A is approved, it is all your family member has the same visa. So long your 1A remains valid, yeah, for everybody, when the AA condition is being fulfilled and during the conversion, everyone who is holding the 1AA will be converted altogether, whether or not they live in Australia, yeah, whether or not they reside in Australia, yeah. So everybody who is holding the 1AA will be converted altogether, yeah, and become a PR. That includes children who has already passed the age of the dependency, yeah, which is above 23 years old. So they need to be below 23 years old when the 1A is approved. Yeah, this is again, the lengthy processing time do have an impact on this. So assuming that your child who is already 20 years old, it is going to be too late because uh, it takes 28 months, 29 months to get an approval. If they are already 22, if they are already 20, to 21 years old, very good chances when the visa is approved, they pass 23 years old and they will not be included in this application. So you have to take notes how old your kids are currently and make sure that you are putting in the application in time before they become a 23 years old. Now, once they pass once they get a 188 visa together with you, and it doesn't matter anymore if they pass 23 years old later during the conversion to the PR.
All right. And the kids, can they study for free until university?
The unions, during the 188, this is the provisional visa stage. The free education applies to primary and secondary school. If the case is already in the university level, no. But when they become a PR, yes, then you are paying 1/3 of the fee.
All right. Okay, there's a question on actually what kind of support do you provide to run a business?
Okay, well, we do global migration. Basically, we provide the full one-stop solution from visa processing all the way until you securing your PR. So that includes business sourcing, business valuations, setting up the company for you in Australia, providing business management support if you needed us to do so. So basically, we provide you, we equip you with the right preparations when it comes to the business planning in Australia. Yeah, sharing with you what are the business opportunity, whether or not you are acquiring this business at the right value. If you are setting up your own company, scratch from fresh starts, we support you, from business setting up, accounting services, tax advisory advice. Yeah. So basically, our aims over here is to carry your hand all the way, until you became a PR in Australia.
All right. I think the second last question before we end today, if the change is going to be implemented in July, when is the latest time to process the application?
You need to start the process by January 2021.
Okay, January 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. Provided 188A, they got make to first entry, right? Then can they get the 888 conversion? What about if one of the applicant not exercise for first entry?
Mm. Okay. Well, given the current pandemic, there's a waiver on the first entry. All right. So long the not exercising the first entry and the visa remain valid. Yeah. Currently, you are not required to make the move to fulfill the initial landing. And the visa is expected to remain valid. So long the visa remain valid, and the conversion to the AAAs, is going to be applicable to the person who doesn't make the initial landing. Yeah.
Hmm.
At this moment, the answer to the initial landing is it will be extended over a period of times until they are fit to travel. Yeah, and the initial landing is being waived at the moment for
Okay.
everybody who has gotten the visa.
All right. And the last question, if I wish to commence the application now, what is the duration expected?
Well, first of all, we have to go through the review. First of all, it takes us probably about 1 month or so to look through your documents to confirm your eligibility, and then we take you on board as a client, and then we will put in your application sometimes around January. Yeah, so these 2 months is going to be a good times to do all the review and the checkings and confirm your eligibility. And then the official processing times is considered as starting from January when we submitted your EOI and the state's nomination. So you should allow yourself at least 28 to 29 months, to get an approval from January next
All
year.
right. Okay. I think that is the time we have today. Thank you again, Desmond, for the informative session. Thank you again, everyone, for attending. So we hope we've covered all the questions and concerns. But however, if you still have any more questions, please feel free to just reach out to us via WhatsApp or call on the number on the screen. You can just contact us or send us an email. And probably we can also get in touch and set up a consultation with you and Desmond. So thank you again, everyone. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Stay safe. Take care.